Well, here we are. It is February 27th, 2025, and we're still down here in the country of Belize on our vacation. We'll be returning in a few days, but this is the Friday video. We've had a wonderful week here, by the way. We went down, drove around. We rented a car for a few days. Went down to the southern part of the country. Went to Placencia, where we stayed last year. Had a terrific meal at a very, very great restaurant there called Maya Beach. We've eaten there, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 times over the last couple years, maybe 8 times actually. It's a great place, and took in the sights. We went to the Mayan waterfalls, had a great time up there for an afternoon, met some people from Canada and some people from Italy were there. And because we had heavy rain, the waterfall was really flowing. There was a huge amount of water coming over the waterfall. It was a lot of fun. The water is about 68 degrees. It's very cool. But it felt great up there in the mountains and so forth. And the Mayan people are there. They're very friendly. They come out and hang out with you and tell you what's going on in the area, animals they've seen and so forth, jaguars and all kinds of crazy birds and hawks and things that are going on up in the jungles of Belize. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. And we've made arrangements. Next year we're going to be staying at another resort, which we found a very small resort. And if you're going to Belize, I highly recommend you check it out. It's called Coconut Row, and it's in the center of Hopkins here. They only have 12 rooms, so to speak. They're on the beach. They have fabulous food. It's run by a Belizean family and an American husband who came down here decades ago, and they got married and they started the resort. And we met them, had a dinner there, and hung out with them a little bit. And very, very nice. It's a beautiful, beautiful beach. And so next year you'll be seeing that place, I guess. Okay. And here we are. Now, what's going on? There's a lot going on, actually, and we're going to talk about the Leland Little sale today. They had their auction yesterday, and the auction results were very good. I was extremely pleased to see it, not only for the Chinese things that did well, but also the Japanese things that I thought did very well. And Japanese art, as you know, has been in a slump for the last 15 or 20 years, and there was some life of the old girl yet, as they say, with the sale, and they did a good job with it. It was over in a matter of a couple hours. It was a very quick sale, but the results were good. But before we get into that, I want to talk about a sale that's coming up that we'll do our deeper dive look at next week, probably once we're toward the end of the week when we get back. Is the Sotheby's sale that's coming up in New York on the 18th of March. This is a big auction, and I haven't seen, they've done some bigger sales, but this is a big auction, 400 lots. And on March 18th in New York at 9 o'clock in the morning, some interesting looking things. There's all kinds of stuff in this sale. A lot of ceramics. There's some very nice bronzes, there's some furniture, and so forth. And some good objects have turned up. And we're going to go through them. We'll talk about the auction. But overall, it looks like a very nice sale and so forth. And they have an arcade sale that isn't posted yet. And we haven't heard about Sotheby's Arcade in years. They seem to be bringing that name back, which is good. And maybe Sotheby's wants to get it back into the antique business. Let's hope they do. Let's hope they do. All right, so we'll take a look at that next week when we're back. And what's going on over here? Let me see here. This is just a reminder, the Devin Moisen sale. My friend Devin up in New Hampshire has got a sale coming up. It's on March 2nd. It'll be this weekend. And he's got a 3-day sale, but the third day it has most of the Chinese works of art in it. And there's some nice pieces in there. If you haven't registered for the sale, you should probably do it. There's a very nice Chinese table in the sale. And they've got some good ceramics. There's some other Chinese furniture in there you want to look at. It looks pretty good. One of them is the Adam and Eve dishes in this auction. It's a fairly rare one. It's got a modest estimate. It's got some interest in it already. It's got 71 bidders because the Adam and Eve dishes are very collectible, and it should do pretty well. I think it'll do well above the estimate. And then this is the sale I talked about it last week that had the very interesting Luhan punch bowl, very unusual punch bowl done in this style. Very much to the Chinese taste. And as we saw with the Alastair Simpson sale auction a few weeks ago, the Hong Kong buyers were buying China trade now. And it kind of makes sense. I was thinking about it the other day. Why would, what's the reason for the sudden shift? You keep in mind that the Chinese market in the last few years, as many of you know, have been buying other art other than Chinese art. They've been, for a number of years now, about 8 years, they've been diving into buying Jackson Pollocks and Western European furniture and so forth, early European paintings and so forth. And this kind of makes sense. It fits into it. This was a product of China. These are products of China that were made for the export market. It's part of their history. And I think they just, they've been exposed more to Western art in the last 10 years than in previous years. And I think that they're adopting a more Catholic view of the world of art, which is great for their culture. They'll bring things in, enjoy them, and appreciate them, and so forth. But this bowl is coming up. And I think it's a very nice example. It's very, very rare type, and I think it'll do well. So it does have a bid. It's got an estimate of $5,000 to $7,000. It's got 143 watchers. So this bowl could do pretty well. That's a lot of watchers several days before a sale. Normally you see somewhere between 20 and 40 people watching a lot in a typical live auctioneer sale. This one has 143. And it's because it's a rare bowl. Don't let that discourage you. If you want to buy this bowl, I would say try to buy it, because I think it's a rare bird, and I think it'll be a wonderful thing to own, in your collection. And the other things that are doing pretty well is this, a pair of Femi-June vases. They've got 94 watchers. We're seeing a high watch count in this auction, and this is one of these Femi-June with Famille Rose decoration in relief of vases and precious objects on the piece. This is a nice pair of vases. These are 19th century vases, and it's a style, of course, that you saw in the Kangxi period. They did some vases like this as well, applying relief work onto them. These are very, very attractive, and they're good size. They're almost 14 inches tall, 13.8 inches in height. They're up to $1,700, and I suspect they're going to bring $3,000 to $5,000, which would not be unreasonable. The estimate is $8,000 to $1,200, very modest estimate. Devin doesn't like big reserves and things. I've known Devin for 30 years. He's a very nice man. If you've never met him or talked to him, you'll enjoy him. He's a good guy, and he's been in the auction world a long time. And I can't say enough nice things about him. I just think he's terrific. But anyway, this is a nice looking pair of vases. Now on to let's see here, the Leland Little sale. These are some of the lots that are in the sale. Now this Feiwa pottery piece didn't sell. I wanted to start with this. So if some of you liked it enough, you might want to contact the folks down at Leland Little and see if it's available. It's a big piece, 15 inches tall. I don't know why it didn't sell. I don't know what the bidding got up to, but for some reason it's listed in here as past. It shouldn't have. But find out if you could buy it. If you collect Feiwa pieces, Ming pieces, this is a nice thing. Now on to some results. There was this. This did very well. I left bids on a bunch of things in the sale early on, just to sort of it helps me keep track of things that are going. I didn't leave big bids on a lot of the things. So you'll see a lot of them say, sorry, your bid lost, because I think I put a bid on it of about $500, $600 just to keep track of it. And I knew it would go way over that. It did. I thought it would bring $2,000 or $3,000 or so, or $1,800 to $2,500, something there. This went way over that. It went to $4,100 plus premium, so a little over $5,000 for this Blanc de Chine piece. But it was an early one. It was early. It was a 17th century example, very nicely done. Had a nice later wooden lid, but it fit perfectly, and a very good-looking profile, nicely potted. And that did really well. And this is sort of how the whole sale went. And then there was this, the Kangxi brush pot that had the officials on the front. You may recall we talked about this. It's got officials on the front of it, and then you turn it around, and on the back are the attendants. And it's a very interesting layout, a very interesting type. And it did have a crack in the bottom, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, and it still did extremely well. It brought more than I thought. I thought it would bring $8,000 to $10,000. It brought $15,000 plus premium, so you're up there around about $19,000, $18,000 for this. But it was a rare bird, and rare birds, even damaged, can do awfully well in an auction, as we've seen many, many times. And then over to this, the other brush pot also did very well. This was a lovely thing. I really, really liked this, and it brought a very good price. It had this beautiful decoration on it. It was inscribed and so forth. A very, very unique pot, and I thought it would do well, but I didn't think it would bring $14,000. And again, there seems to be some real strength in the market coming along here for this, and this was 14,000 plus the premium, so about 17 or 18,000, 25% premium at this sale, so about $17,000 or $18,000 for it, but a heck of a nice looking brush pot. Very, very nice. And then popping along over to this went very reasonably. This was the Chiwan glazed mountain with the figures on it. I thought this would bring more money. Apparently, maybe there was something wrong with it. I don't know. But it only went for $400 plus premium, or around $500. I thought it would bring $700 or $800. But very, very attractive. Beautiful condition, it appears to be. And maybe somebody just got a great buy. And it may have been the size, too. When you get into bigger objects, a lot of people get a little nervous because of the shipping, getting the thing sent to you. This was 17 inches tall and it's probably fairly heavy. And it was the piece that had belonged to the grandson of Buffalo Bill Cody. He was a collector, actually. We've seen things with his name on them before, but a nice example. A nice example. Somebody got a great value, I think, at that one. And then the screen. I did throw a bid on that. I think I put $1,100 or $1,200 on it early on just to see how it would do. And it was beautifully gilded. This is a small screen. This is only about 7 inches tall, folds up and so forth, but meticulously well done. And the crowd liked it. They brought $5,500 plus the premium, or around $7,500 or so, roughly $7,000. But a very, very nice screen. And that was sort of in the range we were thinking. I think we said $6,000 to $9,000 for it, somewhere in there. It brought $7,000, which is, I think, right on the money. And this had 122 watchers on it. Just so in case you keep track of those things. Always check how many people are watching it. Live Auctioneers will tell you right down here at the bottom. They'll say 122 watchers on this item, and it stays there after the sale. And sometimes it can be a helpful guide to where things are going to go. And when I saw that many watchers, I thought, it may go to 10,000 or a little bit more. You never know. You never know. And some people just put on their watch list because they collect jade and they want to see how it's doing too. There's a lot of looky-loos that track things on here on watch lists, and I do it all the time. I've got dozens of things on watch lists because I want to follow the market and the trends and see what the prices are and go back and check them later. Then there was this. This was a very good buy. Now this was something that didn't go particularly crazy. They brought $2,500 plus premium, so around $3,300 roughly, somewhere around there, was this nice Chinese robe, second half of the 19th century. Perfectly good. In the past, we've seen these sell for $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000. This one went for a little under. It went for $1,000 or so under what you might have thought it would bring, including the buyer's premiums. But nice robe for somebody's collection. And then the Japanese bronze. Now this was a big bronze. This thing was very big. It's 20 inches tall, and beautifully patinated Japanese bronze, Meiji period. I love the Fu lion on top. This was a very attractive one. It had this nicely carved wooden base that was made for it, obviously custom fitted, and probably the original stand. It looks like it was probably done at around the same period, but very finely done, and there's that beautiful patina that you expect to see on the Japanese bronzes. That warm cocoa brown that they were so good at applying. And that's something I always love to see, how well they could do those colors when they were patinating them. And this one did very well. It brought $700 plus the premium, or about $1,000 roughly, which I think is very reasonable, perfectly reasonable. Keeping in mind it's 20 inches tall, big piece of bronze, very nice example. So if one of you bought it, good on you for buying it. That was a nice one. And then hopping along over to this, the Shibayama silver filigree dish. It was signed Hideaki. It did fine. It brought $3,200 plus premium, or about $4,000. It went a little under what I thought it might bring. I thought it might have brought maybe, I think said around $4,000 to $6,000 or $5,000 to $7,000, somewhere in there. It sold for a little over $4,000, which is fine, or about $4,000, which is perfectly good. It's a very, very good piece. If one of you guys bought that, I think you're going to be very, very pleased with it. It was wonderfully well done. As I mentioned a week or two ago when we previewed the sale, it had all these terrific insects and snails and stuff into the border, mounted on the filigree around the outside, in addition to all the inlay work and the mother of pearl and the coral in the middle and so forth, in that basket pattern with doves and birds and so forth. But I thought this was a very, very nice example. For about $4,000. And then this, the very nice Nagoya Hayashi Kandiji, was attributed to him, or to his studio. Anyway, it was this very nice piece of a cloisonné work. And this wasn't a very, very big piece. It was about 10 inches tall. It looks bigger. It looks like, to me, it looks visually, it looks like it might be, 18 inches tall or something. It was about 10 inches tall. It did fine. It brought $2,600 plus the premium, so around $3,300 roughly, but very, very finely worked. And Japanese cloisonné, fine Japanese cloisonné, seems to be one of the areas in the Japanese market that has held up fairly well over the years, because there are people that are collectors of certain artists and so forth, so they tend to track them when they come up. And if it's a nice example like this one, they do pretty well. And then over to this, the Korean Bongchong ware bottle. This was a nice one. I liked it. I love these rusticated versions. Very nicely done. And they haven't been bringing a lot of money lately. What was sort of interesting about this one, it was a fairly small one. It was 7 7/8 inches in height, but it had good color, and went for it sold for $750 hammer price, and then premium at about $900. Nice example though, nice example. And then the Korean water dropper, I did leave a bid on this of I think 500 or 600 or something, just because I liked it. It was an unusual size. It was sort of a magnum-sized water dropper. And the stoneware piece, the other example, the stoneware example that came with it, was also very, very nice. I think this was sort of a great buy. You do not see Korean water droppers in this color. This looks like an 18th century example in that size. This thing was this big, very, very large for a water dropper. I think it was 7 inches in diameter or something, or 6 5/8 inches in diameter. So it was quite large for a water dropper. And it had that same color that you see on these very, very desirable moon jars, that warm, bluish, smooth, creamy color. And this was a good example. Somebody emailed me. They said, "What's on the bottom of it? Why does it look like that?" And in the description, if you read down a little bit, and it mentions that this felt is put on the feet, because these pots tend to have a lot of sand and grit on them. If you've handled a lot of Korean wares, you know how much sand and grit they can get on them, and they can scratch things. So often people, if they're going to be putting them in a nice, on top of a nice piece of wood, or on a side table in a living room or something, you don't want to have it scratching the tabletop every time it gets moved. So they put felt on them. That's all that is. It's not to cover up. He was wondering if it was meant to cover up a repair. I said, no. It's just to prevent it from damaging the furniture. And then moving over to this, the Rosanjin washer, or water bowl rather. Very well-known potter. If you looked him up, you'll find a lot about him. He's sold through Sotheby's and Christie's over the years. This is a nice rustic version with its original cloth under it. It appears to be anyway. Nicely done, very attractive, and it ended up selling for about $1,200 and change, $1,220. About $1,300 and change with the premium. But a nice looking bowl. If you like these kinds of wares, tea ceremony wares and water bowls and things like that, this was a good one. It was 7 1/16 inches in diameter. But I liked it a lot. I thought it was very, very nice. And then over here, now this was sort of fun. Japanese chaides, tea caddies, as they're referred to in the West, but they call them chaide in Japan. They tend to be this big, and they're wonderfully glazed, and they often have ivory tops on them. There was a very common thing for them to fit them with ivory tops, and there'd be a gold foil liner under the ivory top to help it seal and keep the tea moisture and keep it from getting exposed to the air. They haven't been selling for anything for a long time. Not long ago, I was watching a sale that had a bunch of them, and I don't think they were bringing $20 a piece. $30, something like that. They were they were perfectly good. There was nothing wrong with them. And a lot of people collect chaides the way Chinese collectors collect snuff bottles. I've seen some huge tea caddy collections, especially in the Boston area. As a matter of fact, a number of years ago, the Museum of Fine Arts had gone through their collection, because they had such huge amounts of Japanese pottery that came from the Morses and other collections that were donated. When the Morse collection went into the MFA in Boston, they published that famous book on on Japanese pottery. A lot of people after that saw it and said, "Oh, we've got some of those," and they gave them to the MFA in Boston, and they ended up with way too many of them. And I bought some of them actually in one of their sales. They were being sold. Skinner back in the day had a bunch of them, and I bought a number of them. Still have a few of them. I like them a lot. I gave one to a friend of mine that collects Japanese things, and he admired it. So he was at the house for dinner, and I said, "Here, take it home with you. Go ahead." At any rate, this time around they did pretty well. These sold for about $760. I mean, about $800, including a premium. Now, some of them sold for less. Some of them sold for $200 or $300. Some of them sold for $600 and so forth. This was a particularly nice one. I like the Oribe green glaze example on the left. That was quite attractive. And the rest of them, one of them has sort of a dry black glaze on it with a very crisp shoulder, nicely done. And then you have the one in the center with it's almost a tortoise shell color. Beautiful example. These were nice ones. These were good ones, but good prices. And then over here there were these fresh water jar. There's Mizusashi on the left. That's a nice stoneware example, beautifully done. And then a Chayide with its case and the bag. If you've owned these in the past, if you bought these, often a very fine chayides will come with a very finely done brocade silk or some sort of cloth bag that was made specifically for it to protect it, and then it goes in that nice box. And this had the box, the bag, and everything. And the lot did fairly well. It brought $650 plus premium, or around $800 roughly for it. But the Mizusashi was very attractive, very rustic, very elegant, sort of thing. This is what people really like. Now, a number of years ago, these were selling, a Mizusashi like that would sell for probably $1,400 or $1,500. So it's got a little ways to go yet to get back up to the original prices. But if people start developing an appreciation for Japanese things, that's what's going to happen, because the Chinese market is still quite strong, as you all know. Now, this was an interesting lot. This was I think this was a mistake in this lot. The Mizusashi, the big piece, is Japanese, obviously. It's got a lacquered lid on it. The handles look good. Now, sometimes you do see Chinese porcelain that was brought to Japan, brush pots in particular. We've talked about those in the past, and they would fit them with lacquer tops. And this was a Japanese example. Now, the jar on the right, they said was Japanese. I don't think it was. I think this did not. I looked at this the other day pretty carefully, and I think somebody got a little gem here. I don't think that's Japanese at all. Now, some of you may disagree, but this looks an awful lot like a Ming rabbit. This pattern, this style of animal, these rabbits were drawn this way toward the end of the Ming Dynasty fairly often. It was a fairly common pattern, and I've never seen it on Japanese wares ever. And the glaze looks quite good, and they did use little Chinese jarlets all the time as chayides, as tea caddies. And this is not a classic Japanese tea caddy shape, but if it would serve the purpose, they would do it, and they would also give it an ivory lid. But if you look inside of it, this thin potting here, and the color of that glaze on the interior, and then flip it over, to me that looks much more likely to be a Chinese pot than a Japanese one. So I have a suspicion that's what it is. You can take a look at it if you want. But I think this was there's a truck going by. There are a lot of fruit trucks go by here all the time. At any rate, nice lot, and I think it was a very good buy. $325 or around $400 including the premium, but awfully attractive piece. And then over to this, the Tokuri, it did fine. I did leave a bid on it because I love Japanese Tokuris. You may remember a few months ago I bought one in London and had it sent over from Drew Eats. And this was a nice one, and it did fine. It brought $950 plus premium, or around $1,200, 18th or 19th. They thought it was 17th century. I'm not so sure. It doesn't matter a whole heck of a lot. But I thought the artwork on it was charming. I thought the artwork on it was very, very, very charming. I liked the way that the piece was laid out, and I liked the fact that it still had its old handle with the bamboo wrap around it, or the grass wrap around it. And you'll notice that the loops where it ties in are not broken. These often got broken. And these seem to be completely intact. And it had this very attractive blue and white decoration, vine decoration around the top. And that went for $950 plus premium, or around $1,200. So that was an interesting result, because these kinds of sales where you have you've got some better things and some average things and sort of a mix, you get a pretty good sense of the market. And I think right now you're seeing, in this sale we saw some real appreciation for Japanese things. Now, they did come from Yale universities. They were deaccessioned from Yale. They were a gift to Yale some time ago, and they were deaccessions. Sometimes deaccessions bring more money because it came from an institution, and people think that's a nice bit of provenance, and it is. It doesn't hurt it at all, of course. But I think also it showed that there was some interest in this stuff. And I'll be talking with the folks at Leland. I'll send them an email and say, what were their feelings about the auction. But I think they were very happy. Because right now there's a lot going on in the world, as we all know. A lot of stuff going on in politics and there's wars and this and that. And you always wonder how it's going to impact the art and antique market. I do. I always think of that first. Oh, is this going to disrupt things? Is this going to mess up the art market in any way? And so far, it doesn't seem to be happening. And I noticed that there was some American furniture that sold this past week that did pretty well. Smith's up in New Hampshire had their sale, and they had a very, very nice Federal Bureau that did well. Not bringing tens of thousands, but it did fine. And there was one, though, that was a bargain. But anyway, I think overall their auction was successful and so forth. So that's sort of where things are for now. There have been a lot of new auctions turning up on the market in the last few days, but we're getting into March. And this first part of the year has been a little quieter than I thought it would be, and quieter than it typically is. But the things that have turned up are quite good. And it may be that you're going to see some higher quality things coming along. The Sotheby's sale, of course, with almost 400 lots in it, is a great way to start off the year with the big auction houses. And we'll see what Bonhams and Christie's come up with over the next few months. But for now, it looks like things are pretty good. All right. So that's all I have to say. I hope you're all having a good time, and the next time you see me, I'll be home. And we've taken some more videos down here, and videos of the beach and so forth. And we took some pictures up at the waterfall, and I've got to edit them, and we'll share them here and there and put them in things and so forth. So, at any rate, that's it. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you haven't so far. We do these every week, and sometimes we do a couple of videos a week, and I am planning to go back to the Museum of Fine Arts, as we did the MFA video a few weeks ago, and do some more in the Chinese department there. We'll do a video on the Japanese department and so forth, and then I'm planning on getting into the Peabody Essex, and then we're going to be doing more and more on-the-road videos this year as we get our feet back under us at home, because I think maybe a lot of you would enjoy seeing some of the historic houses around New England that have interesting things, not just Chinese things, but great antiques, good art, maritime art, and so forth. And we're going to try and do one or two of those every month as we can get out there, time permitting, off of Cape Ann, and go that way. All right. Thanks for watching, and have a great week, a great weekend, and thank you very much for subscribing. All right. Bye-bye.